coming Friday, but the Friday after. So in about 2 weeks. Like I said, it's a very short unit. It's kind of a transition unit, bridging the two things we're talking about. But like I said, it's not very long. So it's not going to be very long and hopefully not very hard. But there is a unit exam for this material, not this Friday, but next Friday. So that's 11/20. And for those of you who are counting down, that is the Friday before Thanksgiving break.
Wait a minute. So basically, do we get out early on that day?
Do we go?
Do we get out of school early? Like,
No, it'll be regular school day.
okay.
But yeah, we'll come back to the objective here in a second after the do now. I just wanted to make sure that I gave you enough time to get to that assignment on Teams, because again, the form is going to be on Teams. So in the past, we've been doing it in the chat box. Today, we're going to be doing it on the form. Hopefully, it'll solve some of our lagging with the chat box, as you are going to be filling out that form on your own computer. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna give you about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit less, give you 3 minutes. Again, you're headed to the assignment tab so you can answer the do now in a form. Okay, I have my form pulled up so I can start looking at people who have completed it. So thank you, Robert. Thank you, Jimena. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. There. Hugo is actually the first. Thank you, Hugo. So again, for those of you coming in a little bit late, we are doing our do now that's posted on Teams. So there's a link to a form similar to our exit tickets, but this is of course going to be for your do now. Hopefully it'll solve some of our laggy chat problems.
Wait a minute. Let's see. Do now say do now and independent practice.
That's the assignment.
Okay.
So click the link for the do now. Look at the chat again. Oh, thank you, Cheyenne, for getting our big slide on there. Hi, Grace. Whoa, Abby's going to be hyper. She just had some Starbucks. Hi, Casey. It's okay, I understand. Eileen intervened for you. Oh, there's the fries. Thank you, Gigi, for sharing. That's fun. Valiant's tired. We're all there with you, buddy. It's the end of the Monday. Hi, Galen. Okay. About 20 more seconds. Make sure you get that turned in. Angel Arzate, thank you. Faye, thank you. Miguel, Brandon. I've got about 10 responses. There's about 40 or so of you in here right now. I think I'm going to go ahead and rewind just a little bit because, again, it's very important for you to participate in the chat. I'm sorry, in do now. Remember that my participation grade for the week involves your do now, chat participation, independent practice, and exit ticket. So there's a lot of stuff going into that grade. Thank you, Zaria. And Gigi, let me know if you need help trying to find it. It's posted in assignments under Do Now. Oh, you can't see because your eyeballs are hurting, or you just don't know where it is? A little more than 30 seconds. A few more responses. Thank you. New design, Daniel, Dominic, Grace. Lucky. That's okay, Zaria. Okay. Thank you very much. Now that we're going to move into our discussion of the question, my first question is, does anybody recognize this question? That's my first question.
Actually, I remember.
Do you? Where do you remember from?
I remember that we was talking about the leaves have doesn't have no pythons and no stems, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Brandon is right. We have looked at this question before. Dominic was asking if we had it last year. That I can't vouch for. But anybody else have any other thoughts?
You're asking like what it's called, like this?
Just if you recognize the question, like if it seems familiar to you.
Oh, it's like we did something like this in like August. It's like the dichotomy key, something like that.
Whoa, give Grace 2 claps. Look at that. Dichotomous key. She even remembered what it was called. Good job, Grace. So yes, these are dichotomous keys. We talked about these a long time ago. We're going to try and start spiraling in old information as we get ready for our mock star. So for those of you who don't remember, we're going to have a mock star here at the end of the semester in December as we get closer to the real thing in April or May. So the mock is going to help us kind of make sure that we understand what it is that we need to learn, where the gaps are, if there's anything that we missed. And so part of that means we're going to go back, look at all this old info. So Grace is right. These are dichotomous keys. This is part of our taxonomy unit, which was like the first thing we did way back in August. So if this was super foreign to you, I'm hoping that this little review will help you with it now. So who feels really confident about their answer? Zaria, I remember you were answering in the chat box. You seemed pretty confident with what you knew about dichotomous keys. Would you mind walking us through it if you're able?
Okay, so I said based on the chart, longleaf pines have straight leaves that are more than 13 centimeters long, have 3 in a cluster, and is needle-like. And where is it? And then I added that it is 25 centimeters long with no thorns or cones. So that would be D, I think.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Zaria. So she kind of walked us through it. Now, the purpose of these dichotomous keys are to kind of organize things, right? They're kind of helping us put stuff in boxes. So the question says, based on the key, which of the best describes the leaves and cones of the longleaf pine? So what Zaria did was she kind of talked us through her thought process, and she was able to get to her answer. Does anybody disagree with D, which is what she chose?
Wait, what do you mean?
Zaria chose D as her answer. Does anybody think that that's not the right answer?
I think D is the right answer because it does talk about the no pythons and stems.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. It's A.
Oh, you changed your mind. What changed your mind?
Because I didn't read it clearly. And in D it says in clusters more than 5, when it actually is in clusters of 3.
Interesting.
Mister?
Hugo thinks. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I was confused because on the form it said the correct answer was D, but I got A.
How come?
Sans.
Yes, I'm here.
When you go to the 7B where it says longleaf pine, it says the leaves are mostly over 25 centimeters. So I clicked mostly over 25 centimeters because D said with a length of 25 centimeters. And then I got it wrong and I got super confused.
Hugo, you said that it was D. What do you think?
Okay, so I also got A first, but then like when I got it wrong, it said D. So then I was all like, oh, I'll just pick D since I got it wrong and the right answer is D.
Okay, but there's a better reason to pick a correct answer than that. Or not correct answer, a different answer than that.
Is it because
Nobody else.
A says needle-like instead of just regular leaves, or?
There you go. So I was hoping that Zaria would talk more about it when she was going through her thought process. Remember that we're doing dichotomous keys. We're looking at characteristics, right? So when you're looking at, what was it called? Longleaf pine, you see that it's 7B, right? Leaves mostly over 25 centimeters. So then you can work your way backwards to the characteristics that longleaf pine has. But yeah, the defining characteristic was that needle-like straight leaves, if that makes sense. Because that's a trait that's not necessarily part of the longleaf pine.
Mr. Martinez,
Uh-huh.
on the, like, if they give it to us, don't they usually give us like a picture so we could see what it looks like?
Typically, they do, but you can't always expect a picture because this was a star question and there was no picture with it. They just gave you some text in a box. Yeah, it is a little bit confusing. Like I'm definitely more of a visual person.
I get it
I
now.
would like to see a leaf, but that's not. You can't always count on a picture like that. Okay, so essentially, what's going to happen with dichotomous keys, if you're still feeling a little bit confused, what happens is you look at number 1. It says leaves are needle-like or leaves are flattened and scale-like. So what Grace is saying is that typically you'd have a picture where you can look, kind of figure it out. If it looks like the leaves are needle-like, go to number 2. If leaves are flattened and scale-like, you go to 10. Does that kind of make sense? And then go down all the way down here to 10. Anyway, it's so much easier to do this in person. I can like point at it with my fingers, and anyway, it doesn't matter. But dichotomous keys, a way of organizing characteristics so that you can figure out which one's which. Okay. All right, let's move on. Here's the answer. So can I get someone to read the objective for us, please?
Yeah, I can.
Go for it.
Students will be able to describe the structure of the cell membrane and describe how it maintains homeostasis.
Homeostasis. Very good. Thank you so much. All right. So what we're talking about today is homeostasis and cell transport. Can I get someone to read the bullet points here on the right?
Which one?
Miss,
Was that Casey?
No, that was me.
I
Brandon.
was. Yeah, never mind.
Okay, go for it,
Okay.
Brandon. You can start reading the first one.
All right, here we go. Homeostasis is keeping things the same, stable, or balanced.
Thank you. And Casey, would you mind reading the rest?
Sure. Okay. The cell membrane allows the cell to maintain homeostasis by controlling what enters and leaves the cell. The cell membrane is semi-permeable, also called selectively permeable, which means only certain things can enter and leave the cell. And the cell membrane needs to be selective so that it can keep certain materials in and other materials out.
Thank you. So I saw someone saying they were needing to see the objective. Here's the objective one more time. So what we're doing then is we're looking at how the cell maintains homeostasis. So our last unit, we were talking about biomolecules, right? Lipids. So here we can see that these lipids form the membrane around the cells. And the cell needs to be able to survive in what's called homeostasis. Can someone tell me what homeostasis is?
Balance.
Oh, I like that. Thank you, Grace. Yeah, balanced. Anybody else have another definition?
Like keeps the cell in shape.
I like that too. Sounds good. Keeping it in shape. Anybody else? That's okay. We got the point, right? Homeostasis is maintaining a balanced or stable internal environment. So that's the fancy scientific definition. But like Grace and Josiah were getting at, homeostasis just basically means like trying to stay healthy. So for example, homeostasis, what happens when you go out running? Like you start getting sweaty, right? What is your body trying to do by getting sweaty when you're going out running?
When you sweat, I'm pretty sure the body is trying to cool off.
Very good. Exactly, Zaria. So when you go out running, you start sweating because your body's trying to bring down that temperature, right? It's trying to get to homeostasis. Why do you think it's not good for your body to be at a really, really hot temperature for a long time? Does anybody have any ideas why you wouldn't want to be hot for too long?
You're gonna overheat and get heat stroke.
That's true. You're going to get a heat stroke, right? Partly because your body is not designed to be operating at that temperature. Your body doesn't want to be that temperature because it's not designed to function at that temperature. Now, conversely, same thing. Let's say that you go outside and it's really, really cold, right? Like we're about to hopefully get here in December. Let's say you go outside, it's really cold. What does your body do to maintain heat?
We shiver.
You shiver. There you go. Like you start shaking, right? Like, oh, it's cold. Your body muscles they're contracting. They're trying to generate heat so that you don't freeze to death, right? So what's happening is your body's trying to get to a balanced temperature, right? It's trying to maintain that stable internal environment because your body operates in a certain way. Has to do with a little bit of evolution, right? We evolved to be where we are when we are. Your body wants to stay that way. If it goes out of those extremes, it's not going to survive. So that's why homeostasis is so important. So what we're looking at now is we're really connecting that to what we've been learning about with cells. So if a scientist describes the cell membrane as being selectively permeable, what does that mean? In the chat, I want you to tell me, if a scientist describes a cell membrane as being selectively permeable, what does that mean? So I'm looking for your answers in the chat. Another reminder that, again, your chat participation is being monitored through Insights, so please let me know that you are participating by putting your answer in the chat box. I'm essentially looking for what do you think selectively permeable means? Thank you, Tati, by the way. Thank you, Brighton. Very good. Looking for responses from everybody. Make sure that you are participating. This is how we are gauging your participation. Thank you, Hugo. Very good. Thank you, Zaria. Good job. Again, I'm looking for what you think selectively permeable means in the chat box. Thank you, Gigi. Thank you, Amian. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Hamza, Hannah. Another reminder, just again, to make sure that you hear it lots of times, we are taking your chat box participation as a daily grade. So make sure that you are answering these questions when they're being asked. Thank you, Josiah. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Cameron. So the reason I wanted to mention selectively permeable is because you're guaranteed to see it on the star. They're going to ask it in maybe a different way. They could say selectively permeable. They could say semi-permeable. So let's go back to the other slide. Boop, boop. See, so semi-permeable, selectively permeable. It's essentially what you guys are already getting out of the chat. The cell kind of decides what comes in and what goes out of the cell. Oops, sorry, one second. Okay, does anybody know why it would be important for the cell to regulate what comes into and out of the cell?
So the cell won't be that bad.
Yeah, I think we can do a little better, something a little bit more specific. Right, we're talking about balance, but now I wanted to get more specific. Why do you think the cell wants to regulate what comes in and out? Like what could be something the cell does not want inside? Okay, Casey, you're getting closer, so it won't affect the functions. What if I'm looking for an example? Give me an example of something you think the cell would not want inside.
Is it
Hey,
cancer
there you go.
cells?
Yeah, Grace got it, right? I think it was Grace. It went so fast. But yeah, so bacteria, right? Germs. You want to make sure that you're keeping stuff out of the cell that you don't want in the cell that's going to make you sick, right? So things like bacteria or viruses, that's part of the reason why the cell kind of regulates what goes in and out. Now, in a more day-to-day way, you can kind of say, okay, well, right now the cell needs sugar or the cell doesn't need sugar. I need, sodium, potassium, whatever, those vitamins and minerals. So your body needs different things at different times, and so it wants to be able to regulate what can come in and go out. So here you see in the picture, there's a really, really big thing being bounced away, and a really, really small thing that goes right through. What do you think is something the body would want to go right through the cell membrane? Something you think wouldn't matter, like you wouldn't want to regulate, like something could just go in or out, not have to worry about having to be bounced out. Ooh, Brighton says oxygen. I like it. Energy? Oh, yeah. I think energy going across the membrane, you want to regulate a little bit. Carbon might be a bit too big, but I think oxygen is close to the right answer. Think of it this way. When you are outside, you're sweating because you're hot, right? The first thing you do is you take a big glass of water, right? And you feel that immediate like satisfaction, like, oh, my thirst is quenched. I feel so much better. I can feel that water like just going right through me, right? So looking at this little thing, for the most part, water can go right through the cell membrane. It doesn't really need to worry about proteins. There are proteins, they're called aquaporins, that will allow water to go through, but for the most part, water can just go right through the cell membrane. And there are other things that can as well. We'll talk more about it later, but like hormones, like, when you get mad, you just get so mad, like someone does something to you, like if, hopefully none of you are driving quite yet, but when you start driving and somebody cuts you off, you feel that anger like immediately. That hurt. So mad, I'm so mad, right? It doesn't take you a long time to get mad usually. And usually those emotions, like, they're instantaneous. Like when you see the woman that you love, like when I see my wife and you get those butterflies, those kind of things happen very, very quickly. And part of that is because those hormones are able to go through the membrane quickly as well. But we'll talk more about that later. Okay, so what is that membrane? Can I get someone to read these points here on the right?
Let's have Zaria do it.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. Zaria, would you mind reading it?
Sure. Okay, so homeostasis and cell transport key points. The cell membrane is a phospholipid bilayer. This means it is made up of 2 layers of phospholipids. Recall the lipids are a type of biomolecule. Each phospholipid has a hydrophilic water-loving phosphate head and 2 hydrophobic water-fearing lipid tails.
Very good. Those are some high-level vocab terms. So good job reading through that. I know these are your first times looking at it. So when it comes to time talking about hydrophobic and hydrophilic, which we'll talk more about tomorrow as well, so don't worry if that still seems a little bit crazy to you, is that the lipid membrane is made up of 2 layers of cells, or two layers of lipids. There's a layer on top, a layer on bottom, right? Let me get my pointer so I can show you. Oop. See, so we got lipids here, we got lipids down here. This lipid bilayer forms the cell membrane. So phospholipids, right? You remember seeing the lipids with the head and the tails, right? This is a bilayer, means that there's 2 of them. So there's a layer here and a layer here. Now, the heads are hydrophilic. That means that they like water. And then the tails are hydrophobic. So when you're thinking about the cell and the body, for the most part, there's a bunch of liquid on the outside of the cell and on the inside of the cell. Does anybody remember the name of the liquid inside the cell? It starts with a C. Does anybody remember? Our organelles?
Cytoplasm.
Hey, very good. Thank you. Who was that?
Cytoplasm?
No, is it Grace? Is that you?
Yes.
Yeah, very good. So cytoplasm is that jelly gunky stuff the cell, right? Pretty much liquid. And then outside the cell, you got stuff like blood or water or whatever, depending on what the cell is. So the heads don't mind it. The heads actually like all that liquidy stuff. Tails don't. So the tails kind of go together on the insides. That way they're not touching any of that water stuff. And that's where that membrane usually forms.
Okay. What type of tails, though? What type of tails?
So they're hydrophobic tails. So you might have heard of like arachnophobia. Does anybody know what that is? Arachnophobia? Hey, there we go. Nathaniel said it in class. So it's a fear of spiders. So with that phobia, that's the fear of. And so arachnids, like they're spiders, right? So arachnophobia is a fear of spiders. Hydrophobic then means, they don't like water. So they naturally go against water. So it's kind of like a magnet. Think about a magnet when you're trying to reverse the pole and it doesn't want to, it flips right over. It's the same thing with these lipids. The heads are going to face the water. The tails are not going to interact with the water at all. The reasons are a little more specific than what you need to know. But for the time being, understand that the heads like water, tails don't. Hey, because of Harry Potter. Yeah, nice. Okay, so here is a better picture of the cell membrane. Can I get somebody to read the text here on the right?
Let's have you go.
I'll read it.
Go for it.
The three biomolecules found in the cell membrane are proteins, lipids, and carbohydrates.
Thank you very much, Miguel. I don't know if I've ever heard you read before. So these are 3 of our 4 biomolecules, the 4th one being nucleic acids, right? But it's not here. We've got lipids, we've got cholesterol, which is type of fat, right? Those are also lipids. Carbohydrates over here, and then we've got our big old proteins. So the proteins, for the most part, are used for transport, like things coming in or going out. Carbohydrates can be used as identification. Same thing with glycoproteins. They're essentially just like name tags. So like I mentioned the other day, when a cell was talking to another cell, I was like, hey, my name is Steve. The reason the cell knows what another cell is because it interacts with these little projections coming out of the cell. So think of them as like little ID tags. And then cholesterol actually helps the cell membrane kind of stay loose. Like when you think about the plant cells and the animal cells, remember how the plant cells are rigid because they have that cell wall? Whereas our animal cells are nice and they're all like jello almost. They're very like, they move around. They don't hold the same shape very often. Can anybody think of a reason why you would want animal cells to be a little bit more flexible?
Is it for muscle?
Yeah, very good. So there's muscles, there's arteries or veins, there's all sorts of little cramped spaces where you want to make sure the cells can go, right? In a plant, for the most part, they're a little, I don't want to use the word too seriously, but simpler, right? There's like the stem, which has the xylem and the phloem. They're going to the leaves, whatever. But for us, we've got these muscles that expand and contract. We've got these blood vessels that do the same thing. They open and close. They go to capillaries where the oxygen is kind of moved around. So you want to make sure that these cells can do a whole bunch of different things because you never know where the cell is going to go. So those cholesterol molecules in there kind of help it make move around more. Like it's kind of like how can I explain it in a way that's a little more tangible? It's kind of like if you ever use clay, and you start to play with it like Play-Doh, after a while it gets kind of dry. If you put some stuff in there like oil, it'll start to become a little bit more pliable, right? It becomes more, you can mess with it a little bit more because there's stuff that's more than just what was already there. That oil kind of helps it, form differently. Okay, so last question. This one's going to be in the chat box. What 3 biomolecules can be found in the cell membrane? So again, in the chat box, I'm looking for what 3 biomolecules can be found in the cell membrane. Thank you, Hamza. Thank you, Casey. Another reminder again that your chat box is going to be monitored for participation. So please make sure that you answer questions. I'm looking for the 3 biomolecules that can be found in the cell membrane. Thank you, Cameron, Brighton, Josiah, Abby. Oh, I believe that was not on task. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Tati. Although, Abby, I will agree with you. Spiders are disgusting and gross. For the same reason, I will not eat crab or lobster because to me they look like ocean spiders. Don't like it, not into it. My wife loves like lobsters and stuff. I cannot do it. I don't care. Dip it in butter, fine, whatever. To me, you're just eating butter. Don't get it, don't like it. And shrimp, by the way, gross. Shrimp, disgusting. Because that black line that's underneath them is poop. It's all poop.
How do you know is that if it's all poop?
Because shrimp are called bottom feeders. What that means is that they're at the bottom of the food chain. And so for the most part, the gunk that they're eating is already pretty gross. And then when you eat them, they don't usually remove that vein, which is all of their own poop. So it's like you're eating the poop of poop. So it's
Okay.
Gross.
That's just gross.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed your lunch.
Mr. Raymond, did you really have to say that?
Okay, last bit. So I wanted to make sure that I introed this right now. We're going to talk definitely more about this tomorrow and all week. The image before you headed into your independent practice. What we're looking at here is diffusion. Does anybody think that they know enough about diffusion to explain what's going on in this image?
Well, okay, so I can tell you about the image on the right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going the molecules are going through a protein bond to make it easier to be I don't know, like transported through the cell membrane.
Think of it in terms of homeostasis.
I don't know.
Remember that homeostasis we talk about means balance, right? If you're looking at the different molecules from one side to the other, what kind of balance do you think that they're trying to get?
I don't know.
I would argue that there's a whole bunch up here, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's a little bit down here. So the ones where there's a bunch are trying to get down to where there's not as much, right? So it's going from what's called a high concentration to a low concentration. Ooh, Casey's already thrown in some of that advanced concepts. We're not quite there yet. I just wanted to show you what this looks like. And if you don't know what it looks like in real life, I wanted to go ahead and show you what it looks like in real life. So here is a better example that's not like, molecules. I don't know why it's ants, but I thought it was kind of funny. So I put it in here anyway. Now, does anybody think they can explain diffusion with this perfume bottle?
Okay, so what we're seeing right here, it looks kind of good to me, but in a bad way, it looks bad because we see all the buzz flying out of it.
Yeah, I don't know why they're bugs. It made me laugh, but they're not. It's not bugs. It's supposed to be perfume. So what's happening is we've got a whole bunch of perfume down here, right? And somebody is spraying it into a room. So here you can't really make out anything because it's all the perfume molecules are all really, really close together. Then you press that knob and all the molecules spew out, right? Think of it like if someone was like sneezing into a room. It's almost the same thing, except it doesn't smell as good, right? So here we're seeing there's a really, really, really concentrated, like a high concentration of that perfume. Then you spray it, and it's going from that high concentration into a low concentration. Because there was no perfume in the room before. You spray it, now the room is full of that perfume smell, right? Whenever you put on like body spray or perfume, you spray it in that one corner, and then after a few seconds, it kind of permeates and goes all over the whole room, right? So that's diffusion. So I wanted to show you what that kind of looks like before you head into the independent practice because it is talked about, but we'll talk more about active and passive, diffusion and active transport, all that stuff later. I just wanted to give you that visual of high concentration to low concentration. High concentration just means there's a bunch of it. Low concentration means that there's not much of it. So one more example that I wanted to talk to you about. I'll talk about more tomorrow. When I was really little, I think I've even mentioned this before, my dad would take us to Whataburger. And what he would do is he would get us a really large Diet Coke. And what he would do, I have 3 siblings, or I guess there are 3 of us, there are 2 siblings. He would take that large Diet Coke, which is already kind of diluted, right? And he would pour it into 3 small cups and then fill up the rest with water. Like he would like mega dilute it. And for years, that's the kind of Coke that I was used to. I had no idea what other kind of Coke was until I was like in middle school or high school, because the only thing I'd ever had was that really, really, really watered down Coke. So the Coke that you get at the store, highly concentrated, right? It's 100% Coke. Whenever you go to like Wendy's or Whataburger, they usually have these things that mix water with the syrup to give you a certain mix of water and Coke, right? They're diluting a little bit because they want to make some money. So the stuff you buy at the store, heavily concentrated, right? High concentration. The stuff that I got as a kid, low concentration, right? There wasn't a whole lot of Coke left after my dad diluted it with water because it was mostly just water and some Coke. Drinking it now is like disgusting. Like I can't even imagine how I drank it for so many years. But you get the idea, right? The Coke that you get at the store, concentrated. The one that I was drinking as a kid, less concentrated. Okay, we'll talk more about diffusion tomorrow. We just wanted to really intro the membrane, show you how stuff moves across the membrane, and we'll talk about the more specific processes later. So I'm going to give you a few minutes. You're going to work on your independent practice. And then after this, we're going to move into our exit ticket. So there are two things. There's a little bit of reading, not very long, it's very short, and there's some questions over it. So I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to work on this, and then after that, we'll move into our exit ticket. Alrighty. Do we have any questions about what we're about to do? Yeah, I'm glad it doesn't bother you, Zaria. Okay, then let's get to it. Oh, by the way, while we're working. So Ms. Kantu just sent a picture of Brighton's art project to the teacher group. It's pretty cool. I don't want to share because I don't know if I'm supposed to, but it looks really cool, Brighton. So good job. Yeah, the shark. It was pretty traumatic, Timothy. I'm not gonna not have scars. It turned out to be okay though, because I can't drink concentrated Coke without like my body like wanting to burp every 5 seconds. So it's probably a good thing. Oof, water and orange juice. That sounds not good. Okay, Casey, it's like I know I've talked about this before. I knew I had. I couldn't remember when I mentioned it, but yeah. The reason I thought of it is because my wife brings it up all the time because my wife loves to drink Coke. I used to, like I said, I used to not drink Coke because I thought of Coke as being disgusting. I had no idea that Coke tasted good. Whenever she drinks Coke, she I do like Dr. Pepper. I like Dr. Pepper, but ice cream. Dr. Pepper. It's good, Grace. Don't get into it. A habit of drinking it. It's slippery slope on pallets and trucks. Root beer's pretty good though. Oh, Avery, let me know if you send me a private message. I can help you with it. Let me know if it's not loading. I can send you another copy.
Mr. Martinez,
Mm-hmm.
on the independent pack, 7 and 8 basically the same question.
They are. They're asking the same question in different ways, but it's the same information. That's true.
Okay.
About 1 more minute to wrap it up. Okay, and Avery, I sent you the message. Okay, hopefully that was enough time to get that finished. Like I said, it wasn't too difficult. If you didn't finish, which I also understand, you'll just have it for homework. It's the rest of those questions. But we are now moving on to our exit ticket. Also posted in Teams, like always. Before I forget, I wanted to make sure that I reminded you, I did finish grading your exams. I'll be putting in those grades today and tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. For the most part, I'm very pleased with the grades. The only thing I'm a little mad about is that some of you did not even attempt the short answer questions. A couple of you have reached out and said that you were having some technical issues, which I understand. So if you were having issues and you want to make sure that you do get credit for that, then please let me know so we can set something up. But in the future, make sure that you are completing those short answer questions because they are part of your grade and a significant part of it. So make sure that you are not just skipping it. It's helping us to know if we need to go back and readdress things, or if you didn't really understand something. Those questions are designed, to not only test your knowledge, but to help us guide instruction. Okay, so you are heading out to your exit ticket. We've got about 7 minutes. It should be enough time. Again, let me know if you have any questions. More than happy to help. Give me a second, I can paste it into the chat as well. Eileen, the scores will be posted on PowerSchool. But if you don't have access to it, let your DEN teacher know and they can help you out, or send me a private message and I can just let you know the score. Brighton, the intervention today is English. So as you might remember from last week, what we're doing now is that we are going to be going straight into biology, or going from biology into English. So you don't have to worry about moving to the intervention page. We're just going to go ahead and have it here. And Ms. Gonzalez should be online soon. Thank you for the info, Cameron. And actually, if you want to be really cool, there's an anime on Netflix right now called Cells at Work, which deals with a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about now and in the future. If you don't know what Cells at Work is, it's kind of an anime version of Osmosis Jones, where it follows cells, but they're people having different jobs and whatever. Cells at Work, though, definitely more of an anime. It starts out with a bacteria invading a body and the cells having to fight back. It's pretty cool. I feel like anime. And I feel like science. Cells at Work. It is. It's pretty good. Yeah, she should be here in a second. Got about 5 minutes left. Working. Thanks again for your hard work. Thank y'all for participating in the chat box, for doing your do now, your exit ticket. for all your hard work. I know that there's a lot of information all at once. Biology is like this constant flow of information. But you guys are doing really well. I believe in you. I know that you can do it. It's important to take breaks, but I think for the most part, you guys are doing very, very well. And for those of you who don't like biology and think that it's too hard and don't care about it, please understand that I was in your shoes when I was in high school. Like I mentioned at the very beginning of the year, but you might have forgotten already. I didn't like biology at the beginning of the year or when I was in high school. I thought it was hard. I thought it was boring, and I could not focus on it at all. So if that's you, please understand that I've been there. I'm doing my best to make sure that I can make it a little bit more engaging than when I was in school. Because when I was in school, all we had was a textbook, and that was it. But if you're having any trouble with the content, please let me know. Please reach out. As your teachers, we want to make sure that you succeed, right? We're not interested in just punishing you. We want to make sure that we can push you guys to get to mastery level, to make sure that you're understanding the content, and that we want to do anything that we can to help you with that. So please, please, please ask for help if you need help, and we can figure that out. Don't forget that this week we are starting our tutorial times, which is going to be from 3:20 to 4:15. So just keep that in mind. If you have questions or need help, that we will have designated time every single day for every single class for you to ask questions, to get help, or just to catch up if you feel like you're behind. Thank you, Zaria. Thank you, Timothy. Thank you, Kayline. Yeah, great job, you guys. I'll go ahead and start. Avery. Jay. Jay, are you upgrading to Jay-Z? Jay wasn't enough, now it's Jay-Z. Nadia, Hamza, Kayla, Timothy, Brighton, Valiant, Gigi, oh, good job, Gigi. Amian, Grace, good job. Justine, Terrell, Casey, good job. Ayana, great job. Great job, Tati, Brandon, Kaylin, Nathaniel, Dominic, Zaria, good job. Okay. Yeah, if you feel like you could do better, then I encourage you to please redo your exit ticket. Like I said, I'm interested in you getting better, doing better. If you are not content with your score, neither am I. Keep on going. You can get 100. Josiah, thank you. Good job. Robert Acosta, Anna. Got a minute left, a little bit less. Timothy, today we have English. And I believe Ms. Gonzalez is already here. And she will take over once I'm finished.
Yep, I'm here, guys.
About 20 more seconds if you're working on the exit ticket. Again, thank you so much for your participation today. Thank you for all of your hard work. Thank you for being engaged. Remember that your responses in the chat box are part of your daily grade, and I will be going back to assign credit. Thank you so much, you guys. That is it for biology today. You made it. We are now in intervention, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day.
Hi, everyone. It's Miss Gonzalez. I'm going to project my screen for you guys. How's everyone doing? Let me know in the chat box how your day went today.
Again.
Let me see. Oh yeah, this is pretty similar. Hey, Timothy. Hey, Grace. Yes, it is ELA intervention today. All right. Well, first things first. I hope Mr. Martinez, can you see my PowerPoint?
We can see it.
Okay, thank you. First things first, guys, I do want to talk about how many missing exit tickets I have today. So please, 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 if your name is on here, make sure that you are going over there and completing the exit ticket. There should not be this many students missing assignments. Guys, my exit tickets are 3 questions. That is not difficult. 3 questions. We do a lot of work in class, so I do understand that. And those 3 questions, I really expect you to try your best, not just, you know, halfway just to get it done, but to really, really, really try your best. It's only 3. There's so much more work that I can give you, but I decide, you know what, these kids have a lot of workload, many other classes. I completely understand you have to study for exams, that sort of thing. So please complete the 3 questions. It is not that difficult. I do want to give you some time before to go over there and complete it, and I will be checking. And I also want to allow any teachers if you have any announcements or any students who are missing your exit ticket as well. Ms. Carpio, do you have any missing exit tickets today?
I have lots of missing